Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
What does asbestos management mean to you?
I used to really struggle with the asbestos management at my site, but now it's a breeze.
It used to be really expensive. I was paying loads, but now I've got my asbestos power team in place. It's so much easier.
Asbestos can be a pain in the arse if not handled right.
We had to stop the job because asbestos was discovered. Now we don't have that problem.
Asbestos management is easier than you think. Asbestos management. Be proactive, not reactive. Think about asbestos first, not last.
And now your hosts, best-selling authors and asbestos experts, Ian Stone and Neil Munro.
Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire. I'm Ian Stone.
I'm Neil Munro.
So today we're looking at contractor competence and how to check it.
Previously spoke about on the surveying side and surveyors and surveying companies.
So this is more removal contractors,
yes.
Asbestos remediation, asbestos removal works, all those type of contractors. And they kind of fall into two categories, don't they? Either licensed or non-licensed.
Yeah.
Licensed contractors, they're given a license from their health and safety executive to work on and with licensable asbestos materials.
Yes.
You need a license if you're going to potentially exceed the control limit. So it's kind of the work on the higher risk materials, higher percentage of asbestos, would you say?
Yeah, greater risk, the more hazardous stuff, such as pipe insulation, spray coatings, the removal of asbestos insulating board, that type of activity.
And when I say they're given a licence from AC, I don't actually mean given. It's not like you go, can I have one? They go, yeah. It's a little bit more complex.
Yeah, they're externally verified by an inspector.
Health and Safety Executive Inspector.
It has slightly changed very recently, and they've gone to an online system, which has caused quite a few problems and delays. And I know of quite a few contractors that have actually nearly gone over their licence renewal date.
Yeah.
So, I think there's been some teething problems with that. So it's just something to be aware of. If you are employing a licensed contractor at this moment in time and their licence is about to expire, it may be worth contacting them just to make sure everything is in place, because there has been some delays in actually issuing that licence.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, actually, because if you employ them to do a job, halfway through their job, their licence expires. Well, if they don't get it renewed,
they can't trade.
They can't work. So you're left with asbestos enclosure just sitting there on your site, which kind of buggers everything.
Yeah. Yes, there's lots of checks that they go through, isn't there?
Yeah, they check all sorts. It's all your paperwork, all your procedures, following a licence renewal. They do site visits as well and come and make sure that the supervisors and operatives are all working to your company's procedures, because although the overarching kind of guidance is out there, different companies do different things. So you need to make sure that the employees are doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing to check on is for additional conditions on a licence.
Yeah.
Now, there's always a standard set of conditions, but sometimes some contractors are given additional conditions. Now, that could be because they've had a visit or the renewal process, they weren't happy with something.
Yeah. Or the inspector felt they haven't got experience in a certain area.
Yes. So, for instance, I know of a company that they were required to send in audits every 3 months, send in independent audits to the HC.
Yeah.
Because obviously
hadn't
had any, or there were doubts or concerns or something like that. So that was a conditional licence. And the conditions, like I say, it's usually something's pretty much gone awry or there's no confidence there. So that's why you should check for any additional conditions.
It is not very common for clients to actually read the licences.
No.
Is it?
No.
It's like, okay, you've got the certificate, but do you actually read what's actually written on the certificate?
It's like driving licence.
Yes.
Like if you compare it to a driving licence.
Yeah, looks the same.
Everyone's got a driving licence, but actually, is that a provisional? Is it for motorbikes? Is it for lorries? Is it for towing? Exactly. There's all those different conditions on there. So if you think of it along that similar manner, that's why you should have a read through and check any conditions.
Yeah. So with a licensed contractor, you've got the HC who are inspecting them. They're the licence granters. It's a permission, isn't it?
It's a permissioned industry.
Permission to undertake those types of works. So what about non-licensed contractors? There's no kind of policing of those contractors.
Yeah, there's no licence to trade in the non-licensed world as such.
I'd say there isn't any policing. The regulations are still in place and they are governed by that, but there's no sort of external body checking
that you're okay to do
that and you're competent, etc.
The onus is placed on the employer.
The employer, yeah, exactly that. So what does non-licensed contractors, what do they need to do? So what stuff can you ask them, have they got in place? Well, number one really is, has that non-licensed contractor got the right risk assessments and method statements, plan of works for the type of works that you're planning to employ them for?
Yeah, and
that's a big one really. Can they actually identify the risks, and have they got the procedures and work methods to actually do it correctly?
Yeah, that's correct, definitely. Because when you think about the different types of work in non-licensed world, they could be working on vinyl tiles, gaskets, roofs, and they've all got their own elements of risk.
Control methods.
Yes, the control methods and different removal techniques. So you wouldn't use the same removal technique for floor tiles as you would a garage roof.
No.
So you need to make sure that they've got that experience and the paperwork that backs it up.
Definitely. And that kind of leads on to training, doesn't it?
Yes.
So have they had the right training? If they've had asbestos awareness training, that's not adequate for working with asbestos. So they would have to have some form and evidence of this non-licensed training.
And it's the same for the licensed guys. The licensed contractors, they need operative licensed supervisor training.
And next, so once they've got that training, have they got the right personal protective equipment?
Yeah.
Which includes your respirators, coveralls. Have they got the right equipment for the job? That's kind of a standard practice to have all that stuff in place with the licence arena. You know, they've got all that stuff in place. Has an unlicensed contractor got all that? And are they doing regular checks on that?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're checking the respirators and keeping records of those respirators.
Are the guys face fitted?
Are they face fitted? Big one. So equipment. Have they got the right equipment? So as a standard, I would expect to see, you know, a H-type vacuum cleaner.
Yep.
That's the standard contractor piece of equipment, isn't it?
That's DOP tested.
Yes.
As well.
And regularly done.
Yeah, every 6 months.
It was done when you bought it, but the vacuum cleaner is like 5 years old.
Yeah, never been
Hasn't
tested
maintained.
since.
Yeah. We're kind of starting to build a picture of, it's like, not a lot of your average Joe builders is going to have all this in place.
No, and a lot of times you'll get a roofing company. Either a builder or a roofing company, they know they've got asbestos as part of their job. They go, yeah, don't worry, we'll do that. It's only non-licensed. But then when you actually look into it, look at their methods, all the rest of it, they haven't got PPE, RPE, insurance, training, phase fits.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah, you can do the manual lifting, cutting of the sheets, all the rest of it.
Taking it down, lobbing it in a skip.
Yeah, but it's not being done properly.
So that does lead on to what else? So if they're disposing of the asbestos materials themselves, they have to have this waste licence.
Yeah, waste carrier's licence for the vehicle.
Yeah. Or the only other way around that is they're using an external company with a skip, or getting collection by an external company.
Yeah.
Again, you need to be asking, have they got the waste carrier's licence?
And that is kind of the split between the licensed and non-licensed. Non-licensed contractors, you've got a lot more responsibility to check all of these things are in place.
Yeah.
Whereas if you use a licensed contractor and you do check their licence and the other things like insurance and all those things as well, because they're licensed, they have to have it all. So the licensed contractor route is kind of
your safer option of employing a competent contractor. Just to add on to the non-licensed, the biggie, are they insured to do it?
Yeah. And that is massive. Insurance is a huge thing because any insurance company out there for builders, whatever it is, they purposefully exclude asbestos from the insurance schedule.
Yeah.
When asbestos goes wrong, it goes wrong in a big way and it costs a lot of money, and that's why they exclude it. So again, that is, just for your own, covering your own arse.
Yeah.
Peace of mind. Wrong, that's a biggie
you're
for you
not picking up the bill. A few points just to add on to. So that's a non-licensed contractor undertaking normal non-licensed activities. If the works are going to be notifiable, there's just a few extra points that those contractors have to take into account, don't they?
Yeah, they need to put a notification in before work starts, which is different to the licensed. The licensed notification period is 14 days, whereas the non-licensed stuff is before work starts. So that could be 14 days. It could be the morning of the work while they're sitting in the van before they start the job. It's just a form they have to fill in on the HC website, complete all the information about how they're planning to tackle the job, do the job, etc. It just needs to go in before work starts.
Yeah. And they also have to keep health records. They have to have medicals for these operatives or anyone undertaking their non-licensed works. And that has to be kept on record for those employees. So again, it's kind of like, is Joe Builder doing all of that, I would question that.
Definitely. But there are companies out there that are non-licensed stuff, and like I say, there's some roofing companies.
Yes.
They're fully aware of that, and they fully comply with all of that.
Yeah.
But it's just something, peace of mind, to make sure that the non-licensed company you're using has got all that in place.
Definitely.
On either side, what else can we look at to check competence?
So have a look at any kind of accreditations. Really.
Yeah, certification, accreditation schemes, ISOs.
Yeah. And what this is kind of doing is it's building a picture of kind of the legitimacy of the company. If they're prepared to jump through, and we all know the hoops of ISOs and stuff like that, it does sort of build a picture of they are a professional outfit. You know, if they have got their 9001 and 14001 and everything like that.
There's other schemes as well, like Chaz, Construction Line, Achilles, Exor.
ISSIPs,
yes.
So they kind of fall into the CHASC and Safe Contractor, etc. They're all about assessing the sort of safety procedures and competency of not the asbestos element.
The working element. So again, if you're looking at a company that's got these things, it doesn't mean that they're all singing, all dancing and you're off the hook. Mm-hmm. But it does kind of hold your hand and takes you down the path a little bit of going, do you know what? These guys are Chaz. They have got X, or they've got this, that, the other. Well, it means that they've got that badge because they've got the right things in place to get on that scheme.
Yeah.
Insurances, we covered that. I mean, on both sides, if there is insurance in place, a big one to also check is that the actual amount of cover is in place for your site or for the project. Again, because some asbestos removal jobs are millions of pounds worth in size.
Yes.
And I don't know, you might have a site where you could be working next to a big reactor or something, and if that goes pear-shaped, well, that could cost millions to put right. Yeah. So again, you need those insurances in place to make sure that if it does go wrong, there is that cover there for you.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about non-asbestos associations and accreditations, certifications. One to obviously look for is asbestos, isn't it?
Any trade associations.
Any memberships for that contractor, because they are quite important, especially on the contractor side, because really they're the go-to points for industry updates. They're kind of the voice of the industry, and they're steering the direction of policies because they're on various committees, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've got a bit more experience in and around that arena. What else do they sit on?
ARCA and ACAD and ATAC all put forward members of either the governing council or the management committee to sit on different things. Yeah. So there's the asbestos licensing unit. I can't remember how often the meetings are. I think they used to be quarterly. I don't know if they're monthly now or what, but that's where you sit down with the licensing unit.
And this is the HC,
It's the HC, yeah. So you sit in directly with the HC as a voice of the industry, sharing concerns, issues, things that you feel could be made better, all those types of things. So you're actually talking to the heads of the licensing unit. Yeah. There's all sorts. On the ATAC side, again, there's other committees that we're involved with and you sit on, and again, you represent your members and the member voices of the industry.
Yeah. And then the outcomes of those discussions are cascaded through to the members.
Yes.
So if you're a member of those trade associations, you're going to be kept up to date.
You've got a toe in of what's coming. Yeah. That's what we used to do. That's what Steve Sadler used to do.
Best practice stuff.
Yeah. That's what Steve Sadler used to do. That's what I used to do. You'd go to these meetings, have discussions, and if it does look like things might be going one way or whatever, then we would share that around at the regional meetings with the members, discuss them, kind of relay implications and things like that. So if you are using a contractor that's a member of one of those, like I said, they've got kind of a toe in of what's coming, whereas a contractor that isn't a member of one of them, well, how are they getting that information? Where are they pulling that information from?
It's definitely a lot harder to source all that information individually yourself. Just something to obviously look for. Doesn't mean to say that they're going to be a better contractor, but also as part of that membership, they are externally audited.
Yeah, both ARCA and ACAD have.
So again, it's not, you have got an independent member or authority going out looking at the standard of those works.
Yeah, you've got to meet the criteria. If you don't meet the criteria, you don't become a member of ARCA. If you are a member of ARCA, and whilst you're a member of ARCA, if you don't meet the criteria of the audits, again, you're kicked out. So again, there kind of are standards in place that go again to give you more reassurance that your contractor is competent.
And one thing to obviously be aware of is if a contractor was ARCA, just double check that they've still got that, because they do kick non-compliant, non-performing contractors out, don't they?
Yeah.
So if they've not met their criteria, they will kick them out.
Yeah, they might have the badge on their website and
Exactly
on their paperwork, but they've not taken it down, so they're actually saying they're a member. Unless it goes the same with all of it. Like the HC licence, you can go online on the HC website and check the licence number against the licence holder to make sure it's still valid and current. Same with the insurance cover. Don't just take the fact that you've got an email through or a fax through copy of an insurance certificate. Pick up the phone and speak to the broker or speak to the policy holder and say, I just want to check that these guys have got X.
Yeah, well, definitely don't be afraid of asking for the broker's information and contact details, because that's what they're there for, to be checked upon.
Yeah, like Neil just said, it's exactly the same with the Acorn and ACAB membership.
How could you get kicked out? You've been non-performing on audits. You've done something.
Going against the rules of membership. And there's a whole heap of things that you can do, but I mean, a biggie is failing audits. Because, Acorn want their members to be of a certain standard, kind of so that, like we're talking now, how do you check competence?
Yeah.
Well, they want their members to be up there to a standard. So then clients know that, well, if I use them, they are of a standard. So that's why they have teeth.
Yeah.
They have teeth and they use them.
And a lot of tenders on the removal side ask for that kind of, because
trade
the reason they
association
do is
memberships.
because it is, they have to meet a minimum standard.
Yep. So what else can we look at to kind of check competence? Well, now this one's not necessarily competence,
is it? Yeah.
but it's kind of competence from, are they running a business properly? So financial stability is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Credit check the business. You need to make sure that they've got good cash flow, they've got a good credit rating.
It's a biggie one on the contractor side, because, and to be fair to them, they have to fund.
They front load a lot.
A lot of equipment. So
And
when
labour.
So when you're talking about asbestos removal works, there's a lot of polythene, there's a lot of equipment like vacuum cleaners, MPU, so negative pressure units.
Timbers to make enclosures out of.
Sometimes decontamination units have to be hired, all the transformers, cables, lighting even in enclosures. There's a lot. Scaffolding, if you've got to do that. And sometimes that is, towers and
quill
access
machines.
equipment. Yeah, there's a lot to hire and front.
If they don't own it, they've got to hire it. And if they've got to hire it, they've got to have good credit rating, because the last thing you want is to use a company with a poor kind of credit rating, whereas halfway through the job, the hire company...
Oh, it goes, right, you've not paid your bill. I'm
having my gear back.
Yeah.
Which I've seen happen. And you're just literally left with a site that's sealed up and it's half done, and, well, the contractor can't get any gear from anywhere else because they've maxed their credit out everywhere else. So you're kind of shafted, which is not a good place to be. So financial, well, like I say, it's not a competence thing per se, but it is in an overall looking at the business.
Yeah, definitely. What about personnel? Could we do any checks on that?
Yeah. CRB checks. Are they still
DBS?
That's it, DBS check. Yeah, used to be CRB checks, and now DBS checks. They're the checks that you send the details of a person off, and essentially it's checking their record. Have they got a police record for anything?
And it's particularly important in like schools.
Vulnerable sites.
Yeah, vulnerable, say like elderly or people with disabilities or anything like that.
Yeah, you need to make sure that the staff are kosher and that they can go and do what they say they're going to do without anything untoward happening.
Definitely.
On that one, I know of a contractor a few years ago, filled out the paperwork, said, no, I'm clean as a whistle, I haven't got anything. It was for a police station, the job, and just before work started, the CRB, as it was back then, came back, and lo and behold, one of the contractors that filled in the form and said, no, I'm squeaky, I've got nothing. It came back that he had a thing on his record for common assault. However, that transpired that it was common assault on a police officer. However,
ideal.
It even transpired that it was a common assault on a police officer at that police station that he was going to work at. So, again, people do chance their arm. And again, that's like another check that you can do and make sure that you've got the right people for the right job.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of lastly, what else can you check? It's references, isn't it?
Yep.
Can you get to speak to or get information from people who have actually used that contractor before? And what have they done?
In a similar fashion.
How did they perform? Was it all good?
And that's the thing, you want to check that, because like we were saying earlier, different jobs have different removal methods. So a contractor might have loads of experience in removing asbestos insulating board. However, when you look at something that's a bit more complicated, such as boiler rooms,
just a standard boiler room,
using injection machines or using quill blasting machines.
It's a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
It really is, and it's a lot more complicated, a lot more in depth. And again, it's not just does the company have that record, but do the site guys have competence in those works as well?
Particularly with the supervisor.
Yep.
Operatives ideally, but the supervisor's the main one steering the ship on site.
So yeah, I always ask for references. Like I say, ask for stuff that's similar to the works that you're going to have done. Also, can you speak to them? Can you give us the information so I can actually pick up the phone and have a chat? Because I've found time and again, you have a chat and, I mean, lo and behold, you always put forward good references.
Of course. You're never going to put...
You'd be dumb if you put forward a bad reference or a bad referee. But even when you put forward a good one, sometimes by order of having that conversation, you kind of find stuff out, and I don't know, it could be...
Yeah, it was good, but...
Yeah, always a... Yeah, it was good,
I would
everything's fine.
say.
Yeah.
It's that conversation.
And it could be something as simple as, no, the work were all done fine, everything was great, but the lads on site were really scruffy and they swore a bit.
Yeah, which is not ideal if you're in school.
No. Or, I don't know, the works were all done and completed, everything was brilliant, however, they turned up late every day.
Yeah.
Anything like that. And it kind of, again, it's all about giving yourself a level of competence about that.
Definitely.
Now, we've kind of put a form together that you can use and download. It ticks off a lot of these things. I would always use it, whether you do licensed, non-licensed stuff, whether you've worked with a contractor before, whether it's a new one coming on board. Every so often, I'd probably punt it out.
Yeah.
Again, just
keep
keep
due diligence. If there is a requirement, if you are employing somebody, that you should be checking their competence. And this form is just a little freebie for you to use, and it would be a good step forward for you ticking that box of you've done your assessment on their competency.
We're going to paste this into Asbestos Knowledge Empire Facebook community. It's a private, closed community. You can join the community by going onto Facebook. There's a search bar at the top. Literally pop in there, Asbestos Knowledge Empire. Click to join the community.
Our faces.
You'll see our faces, our beautiful faces. And and basically in there, in the past information, it'll be pasted in there so you can use that. So I hope you found that useful.
Yep, and remember, asbestos first, not last.